Hey Dylan, how's it going?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
And
Thanks for having me.
well, also, I mean, this is the outfit, man. What a great piece of work to get involved with. I mean, was this something that you had seen like across somebody's desk, like, get me that one, or you were approached directly for it?
No, it wasn't approached directly at the. I read the script on a plane and I freaked out. Like, and I was like, "What's going on with it?" Like, I didn't know where they were at in the process too. Like, so I just immediately like recorded a couple scenes and like sent in a tape. And never thought I think I said to my manager even like during this because I was so in love with it and I was like, this is the kind of thing I like never get. I know I'm not going to get this, but I want to at least like meet Graham, because like this fucking script, it's like incredible. So I don't know, it just came across. It got sent to me by my agent to read, and I just freaked out over what it was, and figured that like many other people were probably doing it too, so I should get it a tape like ASAP.
Yeah, I mean, this is a hell of a movie to land, just because you have this like murderer's row of talent, yourself included, but also Zoe Deutsch and Mark Rylance and Johnny Flynn. Like some of the scenes between you and Johnny are just electric. The two of you going at it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's such a talented cast. I'm like a fan of all of them. Johnny, who I think I probably got to work with the most. I mean, I don't know. They were my main three. First of all, like all like incredible people, and that's always the best. So it was such a nice set to be on, such a comfortable space to like operate in. And each of them are just so fucking inspiring too, like for so many different reasons, like Johnny is, I mean, that I would call Johnny Flynn coolest cat on the block. I would always say that to him when I saw him. I'm just like obsessed with that guy. Like, first of all, it's just like look at his face. Like his face is like crafted by the gods. It's so cool. He's even got like a scar on his face that just like adds to it, that they even used for the character. They like accentuated it. And he's like an incredible musician. His band is so sick. He's like a chameleon of an actor. He's just the coolest, he's the coolest. And yeah, and so, I mean, Zoe's an icon. Like she like already is, and she's like the hardest working person I think I've ever come across. And Mark is, like, what, you got an hour? It's like,
yes, actually.
You know what I mean? He's incredible. It's so funny. Everyone's like, so obsessed with him, and he's all right,
Yeah, he's just this guy,
Let me tell you, there's a guy, Mark Rylance. Remember his name. He's gonna be. You're gonna hear that name a lot more. Like,
he might win an Oscar one day. I'm just, I'm going to bet right
now. No, I'm calling it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just stayed out of it, so you guys can fight about it. Mike may kill me for asking this because I just realized, maybe he doesn't notice, but in the last maybe 3 or 4 interviews, I've always had a question about accents and voices, because I'm wondering how easy or hard it is to kind of get that old school Chicago accent going.
Yeah, I came into that with no, like, it's not like I had Chicago in my back pocket like my whole life, so I didn't even really know what it was, nor was I even really, I didn't know obviously it's a very placed piece. So I think one of the first conversations that I had with Graham was like, I was like, what do you want to do about the accent? And he was always, I think, pretty intent on, like, he was like, whatever you did in your tape was great. And then I think I was like quite neutral in my tape. I think my accent leans a little East Coast, like, anyway, naturally, but not Chicago. And I think as I was just like prepping, I just became obsessed with the Chicago accent. I started listening to this podcast, like, sort of as like a joke, because it's sort of it's called like the Chicago Accent Podcast or something like that. It's those guys just going full blown Chicago, like, as a joke, basically. But it really like got me into, I don't know, just like, so there's sort of like that's like the like furthest extent you could go, and then you can dive into like the period of it all. Then you're just saying like, okay, it's like 50s, maybe I even thought like at one point I was like, should we lay some like Irish into it, like that could be kind of weird and cool, but I don't know, I ended up on like landing on whatever I landed on, and it just I have no recollection of like how well I even achieved it, but I remember at the time it just sort of taking shape, and I'd be walking around my apartment in Wembley, just like just talking like that, and then I was just like, I want to flaunt this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I mean, it also definitely helps you have like pretty much everyone but a couple characters speak in that accent. So it's kind of like the more you speak with someone, it's like the more it kind of reinforces it, the more you kind of check each other's work from time to time.
Yeah, right. There's an actor in the movie by the name of Simon Russell Beale, who's like a legend, a West End legend, right? He's like literally like, the co-mark of like, London theater. And and he was like starting after we shot the, movie in sequence. So like he didn't start until after I was done. And I like told him, I was like, so here's like this, like, this like knighted actor, is like coming on to set. I was like, hey, here's how you gotta talk, by the way, because here's how I've been talking. I don't even think he listened to it. But and I hope it worked out. I don't know. It's hilarious. Cause I imitated him at one point, and I was just trying to guess like what he was gonna sound like. And I was like, by the way, here's how I imitated you. So like, here's, good luck.
Man, that's another guy we got to watch out for. Simon Russell Beale, Mark Rylance. Just you pick all of the right horses.
This
here,
young
man.
whippersnapper out there, Simon. Okay, got it. All right.
Just look out for him. Look out for him. Yeah. Tweet it right now. So and you can credit me with giving you that call.
Totally. No, totally.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned shooting it in order, and we just spoke to Graham, and he told us about this as well. And like, you even shot? Was this planned ahead of time? And you came to set and they're like, we're just going to shoot this in order.
No, it was it was something I asked. I remember asking Graham before we were even greenlit. I think like when he had just when I got the part, I think like one of the first times I met him, I asked the question because I was like, it can be, it's one place. So I was curious whether or not we were going to be doing that. Because, location's obviously the only reason that we ever not shoot in order is location. It's all location availability. So, I think it was one of the first things I asked, and he was like, yes, we are planning to do an order. I think there was like maybe a day at the end where they had to like do something for like an effect or something like a special effect that they had to like do like a day out of order, but it was like predominantly completely in sequence, which is so rare. It's fucking so cool.
Well, yeah, this is actually one of two movies that I've covered recently that they got to rehearse together, shoot in order, and it was mostly because of COVID bubbling.
Yeah.
So if there was anything good to come out of this sort of weird new world that we're in, that has to be it. And especially with a movie like The Outfit, it lends something to that.
Right.
Something extra to that sort of tightly wound mystery that you get to do this in order and get to rise and fall with emotion.
Yeah. It's funny. This is, I first read this script 6 months before COVID even like hits, before we were even in initial quarantine. And I was like, it's so weird how well that contained script that I had read and auditioned for, like, aged into the things that would be first on deck when the industry like got on its feet. And it was like, because London was still in lockdown when we shot it, and we were in Wembley, and so we had to stay really close to the stage, and it was just all it all became part of the experience. Like I was like, it felt like a play. Like you'd get up, make your coffee, little apartment, get my backpack, and then just walk over to the stage for rehearsals, so, and come back at the end of the day, get up, do it all over again, so it was really cool. I really helps you like focus and stay in the world and stay in the zone. And yeah, it ended up sort of serving in ways that I guess you wouldn't expect. You know.
Well, as much as we want to talk about the outfit all day and have Chicago in our back pockets, we did invite you on to also talk about a film that you were part of that I don't know about you, Matthew, but this is near and dear to my heart considering when it came out. Love and Monsters.
Cool, man.
This came at the right time because this was just you're in the middle of 2020 and
right.
all of these like movies are shifting over to streaming and VOD premieres. And
right.
I don't know how much this was on my radar before like the trailer just dropped. And then I watched it and it's like, I need to see that. And then it all just sort of came together where it's like, oh yeah, you're going to watch the movie and you get to talk to these people about it. And this was just, I'm amazed that this took 6 years to actually get off the ground from when they first sort of started everything up. So I just want to start off by asking, did you have any inkling of this script in the early days, or did this sort of just come to you right as they were going to production?
Yeah, so I think by the time I had read it, it had already been like 6 or 7 years since they had like initially optioned it, or it was even like initially written by the original writer Brian Duffield, and it was still pretty much. I think it had undergone like a rewrite with like a new writer by the time I had gotten to it. But it was pretty much still. I had heard his like molds, and I just absolutely flipped for it. And I was like, "What the?" It's funny. My friend actually like sent it to me. It's really random how I came to it because like I went to like a meeting at some point with Paramount, and I guess that they had sent me some things that they had like that nothing was happening with, and that was one of them. But coincidentally, like the next day, my friend sent me a script anyway, and was like, "You should read this." And it was Love and Monsters, and I read it, and I was like, "Yo, what the fuck is this?" And I like immediately called my manager, and I was just like, "I have to do this movie." And she's like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, did you get that from your meeting yesterday?" And I was like, "No, like, Max sent this to me." And she was like, "Oh, because that also came from." It was like a really weird coincidence, and I don't know, kind of just like weirdly fit. I don't know if I've ever made like a quicker decision on something like in my life. Like I just like knew that I had to do that movie somehow, some way. And like luckily, we did, and it got greenlit too. And I think it happened just right in the nick of time too. I think it like right before I was like too old for it. I was like just like getting to that point, and I also just did that kind of movie. Just I think like I don't know if it would have gotten greenlit today, which is such a depressing thought, but like it's like what we're kind of fighting right now. But like it's just such a fucking cool. It's just such a cool movie. It's genre-less. It's everything. It's like it's so many elements of like these movies that I was like obsessed with. Like as a kid, I loved the everyman, the ordinary guy in absolute like extraordinary circumstances. Like I dig that every time. It was so like imaginative and creative, like the world, the spin on the apocalypse. It was like borderline satirical, but like really still like grounded and honest, and like such a heart to it at the center. It was like one of the most like connected I've ever like felt to reading like a character and like a world for the first time. So it's so cool that you love it, man. I was so happy that you brought it up. So cool that you dig it. I love people who appreciate that.
Well, it must also be great because just like the outfit gives you the opportunity to do something like, one set feel like we were shooting, we're shooting in chronological order. It's an experience where Love and Monsters also, while granted, there's going to be like a green screen out there and there are effects heavy. It had such a natural feeling to it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you were just on a stage the whole time for that.
Yeah.
So you got to experience these things that a lot of people are not going to as actors.
Totally. That's like, I learned from, Wes Ball, who's the director of the Maze Runner movies. I remember I learned from him like really young, and it's always stuck with me. Like I remember because Wes was like he's like a VFX like talk about having it in your back pocket. Like that's like kind of like that's like where he came from. and so he's like an expert with all that shit, and it went a long way into like how we were able to pull off like that first Maze Runner movie. We did not have like a lot of time and a ton of resources. It was quite small for the scope that was trying to be achieved, right? And I remember him saying something like, he's like, with VFX, like you have to stay as like practical as possible. You have to utilize your practical surroundings and the environments as much as you can, in order for it to be achieved as authentically as possible. So anytime you see anything that's just all green screen, I mean, I just think it's like it's a lot tougher to make that work. And so it's interesting, so when we so on Love and Monsters, I remember it being I remember getting really excited initially hearing that we were going to Australia, and like that, Michael Matthews, another really, really talented and like young guy, in my early conversations with him when he got the job, he was like sending me pictures of like all these locations from the scouts, and they were like, I was just the terrain and like the scope of the movie. I was like already seeing it all like come together, and I was like, oh, this is just right. It's it needs that sort of like that practical, like authentic, like wasteland kind of feel to it.
Yeah, and as effects heavy as it is, leaning into the practical is also one of those things that not only do you do that in the realm of effects, you also do that in the realm of the script. And anytime that I talk about this movie, the one scene that has always stuck out to me is when Joel is there at the hotel with the Mavis unit, and she's just about to run out of battery. And that
Totally.
whole scene it literally is the heart of the film.
Yeah, totally. No, I was so hoping that that's what you were like going to bring up.
Can we make him a co-host now?
It's I mean, God, like that's just like that scene like sold me on the movie when I first read the script. There's like iconic moments. I feel like whenever you instinctively know that like something's for you, or that you like want to do something, or it's going to be some way a part of your life. I don't know. But like that scene was I think that's like one of the, iconic scenes of the script that was there from all the way from the initial draft. Like, so that scene survived a decade of like, changes, because I think it is, I think to anyone who reads it, is just sort of undeniably the soul of the script. Everything comes back to that moment, and that's just like what movies are for too. And then going back to the practical effect thing, that it was amazing doing that scene, we had a full-on puppeteer. It's not like I was sitting next to like a green doll, like it was like I was like doing the scene with, and the guy was like fully doing the like turning the head and the hands, and he had full control. So sometimes it was like, there's this guy behind the Mavis, like in like a complete blue thing. So that was kind of funny, but just so cool to have, like her as an actual scene partner. And then we had the actress who played the voice, Melanie, was literally like offset, like doing the scene with me, and I had like her like recording was coming out like exactly how it is like in the film, like too. It's like, so just cool that we were able to do it that way. Very smart to choose to do it that way. And yeah, I love that scene so much, man. So cool.
That must be good too, like not having to go see the film and all of a sudden you hear like Scarlett Johansson's voice instead. It's like you got the person that you spoke against.
Yo, it's really funny that you said that, because I'm pretty sure like people made jokes about that on set. Like, they hadn't like cast the voice yet, and like, but like, Melanie who had done it at the table read, and she's like so fantastic. Like, we were all like, how can it not be this? Like, what do you think you're gonna get? Fucking Scarlett Johansson in here or something? literally. So yeah, I'm really glad that they ended up coming to their senses and giving her the gift, because she just smashed it.
Well, I'm going to throw a wild curve before we leave, because you mentioned your connection with Wes Ball. I was wondering if maybe you have kept in contact with him and heard anything about his approach to Planet of the Apes?
Yeah, you want all the secrets?
You know what? I think we can block off a whole hour and you can just tell
Yeah.
us, but we'll change your voice to Scarlett Johansson so that way it sounds like Scarlett Johansson gave us the dirt.
Yes.
Of course. I'll skip lunch. Yeah, I do still stay in touch with Wes. I just talked to him like a couple weeks ago. I know nothing about the Apes movie. I know that it's like been, I mean, he's really like, he gets really invested, so he's like really excited about like his take on it. It's been slow, I think, the process, but he's really excited about it. And it's been going on. I think he's already been working on it for a couple of years, I feel like. But yeah, it's funny. It'd be, I hope it like, gets going, because I'm excited to see what he'll do with it.
Oh yeah, I still mourn the fact that his mouse guard got canceled.
Oh, dude. Well, that is it's just such a blow to the industry in so many ways. Like, that was like such a scary sign of like, okay, if the biggest company that is like somewhat monopolizing the entire industry right now too is not going to take these swings, who's going to take these swings? And not just not take the swing, but pull the rug out from under the swing.
Yeah,
That was a dark day. Yeah. I can't say enough about like again what it means to. I mean, Wes is like, looks like Spielberg. The reason we even have like this big, the big movie medium, these, I don't know, like sci-fi superhero like elements are all inspired from these innovative filmmakers that we had, like decades ago with like, Star Wars, and then like Spielberg, and like this type of movie had never been like seen before, this scale had never even been seen before. So I find it ironic that they're, what they have gotten all this inspiration from and are like, operating with right now. They're now just like sort of like erasing, they're kind of like eradicating, the, I guess, like the next sort of evolution of that, like young filmmakers with, I mean, what he was doing with that movie was really innovative and like incredible. And nobody, he was building it like on like a video game system. Like, it was unbelievable. And the fact that like that got, because I remember going to the office, he was showing me like everything he was doing. He's a genius, and so why are we?
were you going to be a part of it?
Was I? No. I was about to go do Love and Monsters, actually, and I was just like using his office was like down the block from my house, and so I was just like doing like prep in his office, and he was like showing me all of this stuff, and it was like mind blowing, and it's all just like in a can somewhere, I still hope that at some point, he gets to sort of finish that journey, because that was like such a blow to him, and genuinely such a blow to like, the industry too, because what are we doing if we're not allowing like these new things into the space? We're just regurgitating the same things over and over again.
Thank you for joining us, though. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
We really appreciate it.
Great talking to you guys.
Take it
Have
easy.
a good one.
All right, you too. Later.